On the final play, you got to run the ball. Again, you need 1 yard. Run the ball. You know, I've said enough criticism for him, but God dang it, run the dang ball.
Confused. Have you been in this situation before?
Broncos country. That's right.
I think it's appropriate to make this video now. I mean, at this point, we've seen enough of a sample size of the Denver Broncos to understand the trajectory of this team. And there's multiple red flags that I just want to address in this video. And I'm not saying that they're doomed and there's no way that they could turn it around, because there's still plenty of regular season left. But I'm just seeing things that shouldn't be happening. I'm seeing moments of ineptitude from not only the star quarterback, but also the head coach. And it's just time that we all sat down and had a little chat about this situation. Now, I wanted to make a quick announcement, guys. I'm going to the Los Angeles Rams versus Dallas Cowboys game on Sunday. I want to start doing more meetups with you guys whenever I do go to games. So make sure you're followed on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm going to tweet out where I'm seated. Hopefully I can meet up with some of you guys if you're going to the game. Now that we got all that out of the way, break! Today's video is sponsored by SeatGeek. Football season is back, which means you can get $20 off of tickets with promo code Mikerophone. If you don't know what SeatGeek is, they're a ticketing app that makes purchasing tickets super simple. I've got the app on my phone and it's by far the best and easiest way to purchase tickets to any event that you want to go to. Whether it's concerts, baseball, basketball, football, festivals, and more, SeatGeek has got you covered. In my case, the Dallas Cowboys are coming to my hometown of Los Angeles to face off against the Los Angeles Rams, and I was able to get myself really fire seats by using SeatGeek. Don't worry, I've got the hookup. Use promo code Mikerophone to get $20 off of your first purchase at SeatGeek. That's $20 off of your first purchase when you use promo code Mikerophone, and thank you SeatGeek for the sponsorship. Mike check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? There is a lot of content in this video. I mean, I don't think you understand the cascade of events that have occurred as a result of the horrific Thursday night football game that we watched last night. Now, here's the worst part. It seems like the NFL schedule makers are having no mercy on us, because the Denver Broncos are going to be facing off against the Los Angeles Chargers next time they play on Monday Night Football. Not this Monday, obviously, but a week from Monday. And next week on primetime, we get to watch the Chicago Bears versus the Washington Commanders. I mean, I'm really starting to think that Amazon got finessed here whenever they decided to purchase the rights to Thursday Night Football for $1 billion, but I digress. First things first, let's talk about the game. If the Indianapolis Colts or Denver Broncos happen to think that the reason why the opposing offense was struggling so mightily was because of their great defense, they are 100% incorrect. I mean, there was so much ineptitude from both sides on offense, but there's one thing that is important to take note of. The Indianapolis Colts are significantly less invested in their offense, especially in their quarterback, than the Denver Broncos are in their quarterback. I mean, to compare the two, the Indianapolis Colts traded a third-round pick for Matt Ryan, and then that allowed the Atlanta Falcons to move on to bridge quarterback, and hopefully something more than just a bridge quarterback, Marcus Mariota. Now, on the other hand, the Denver Broncos are significantly more invested in Russell Wilson. The Indianapolis Colts only gave up a third-round pick in order to get Matt Ryan from the Atlanta Falcons, whereas the Denver Broncos traded Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, Noah Fant, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, in addition to a 2022 fifth-round pick for Russell Wilson, and they doubled down on this as well. They signed Russell Wilson to a $245 million contract extension, which keeps him under contract until his age 40 season without seeing him play a snap in a Denver Broncos uniform whatsoever. Now, I will admit at the time I did praise the Denver Broncos for this. I'll hold myself accountable for all my takes always. And at the time, my rationale was the fact that the Denver Broncos would have to eventually pay Russell Wilson top QB money. That was my assumption. And whenever you're trying to pay a quarterback top QB money, you're pretty much in a race with other QBs QBs that are set to being paid. So they essentially beat out Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow to a contract extension, which would have saved them money in the long term. But that was assuming that Russell Wilson was still an elite QB. Now, of course, we still only have a small sample size of his games thus far, but that hasn't stopped Richard Sherman from going absolutely in on Russell Wilson. So if you guys don't remember, Richard Sherman actually discussed why he has resentment towards Russell Wilson, because he has not held back at going at Russell Wilson since he's become an analyst thus far. So if you remember, this is what Richard Sherman said on his podcast.
Held to the same accountability as the rest of us. You bashing the defense. I need you to at least mention his name in the team meeting room.
But there wasn't enough years difference for the accountability thing to be like that. Well, he was young. It's like, well, he was a year younger than us. Like, he ain't that young. When you got 52 guys being held to a certain standard, you got one guy not being held to the standard, then it's going to cause some friction. After a while, it had to get to the point where he chose Russ or the defense. And after the Super Bowl loss, he kind of made it pretty clear who he was choosing. And then you hear the truth from Pete for the first time, after the game.
Coach Carroll is funny.
He is funny.
He is funny. You went 10 years keeping everything tight in the locker room. Let's keep it tight. As soon as this man leaves, you let it all air out.
Well, I guess you only protect the team when you own the team, kid.
Exactly.
And then last night, during the game, this is what Richard Sherman tweeted the moment that the Denver Broncos lost. Flashbacks. And then he, of course, had this beautiful tirade that he went on in regards to the 4th-and-1 situation, which we're going to provide our own analysis very soon, but check it out.
On the final play, you got to run the ball. Again, you need 1 yard. Run the ball. All he has to do is run the football. Like necessary criticism. I've said enough criticism for him, but god dang it, run the dang ball.
I'm not gonna lie, I personally find it a little corny that Richard Sherman is consistently roasting Russell Wilson, but whenever he goes face to face with Russell Wilson, he acts like he's buddy-buddy with him. Now, I don't know if this is a fake clip or a real clip. I don't know if they're just acting buddy-buddy with one another, but I still think it's kind of funny that this man roasts Russell Wilson at whatever chance he gets, but whenever they see each other, this is the way he behaves. It's important to note, and I have my own theories as to why what went down went down. To start, we need to hold Nathaniel Hackett accountable. There were multiple times that the Denver Broncos could have won this game. I mean, if you're playing Madden, you know how to handle this situation. It starts at the end of regulation. The Indianapolis Colts are out of timeouts. There's 2 minutes and 19 seconds left to play in the game, and the Broncos are up by 3. They faced 3rd and 4 from the Indianapolis 13. The Colts weren't able to do all night long. Neither were the Broncos, but the Colts weren't either. But what kind of play did they draw up for 3rd and 4? Well, they decided to drop back and pass. Not hand it off to Melvin Gordon to try to milk the clock all the way to the 2-minute warning, but to drop back and fire a pass to get the first down. Which, to be honest, you don't need the first down at that point. Your defense has been containing the Indianapolis Colts all game long. I have zero faith in the Colts scoring a touchdown at that point. They don't have Jonathan Taylor. Nyheim Hines, I hope he's okay, is out. Matt Ryan has been struggling all night long because Patrick Surtain was locking up Michael Pittman Jr. So at that point, the obvious call is to hand the ball off to Melvin Gordon, hopefully get a first down. If not, you kick the field goal and you go up 2 field goals. I doubt the Colts are able to score a touchdown when you give them the ball back and no timeouts. But what they ended up doing was dropping back to pass with Russell Wilson throwing an interception to Stephon Gilmore. Out of all people you target Stephon Gilmore, the best defensive back on the Colts? What are you doing? But that wasn't the only bad play that Russell Wilson had. The second case of mismanagement obviously came during overtime. The Denver Broncos were faced with a 4th and 1. You either have a choice to go for it or kick a field goal and accept a tie, which I was really hoping they would accept a tie because I would have loved to see the Colts have 2 ties on their record, but that's besides the point. This moment was what Richard Sherman was referring to when he said he has flashbacks, because if you remember in Super Bowl 49, Russell Wilson was faced with a very similar situation. He needed a couple yards in order to score a touchdown and essentially close his 2nd Super Bowl of his career. And what he ended up doing was dropping back to pass, firing a pass over the middle for a slant and getting intercepted by Malcolm Butler. In this case, he did something very similar. It's 4th and 1. There's multiple ways you could go with this. You could hand it off to Melvin Gordon to get the first down. You could try a QB sneak. You could drop back and then maybe scramble for a first first down, or if you do elect to pass, at least make the right read. None of those things occurred. I would have at least respected the Broncos if they went for it on fourth down, handed it off to Melvin Gordon. If they failed, at least it was a reasonable attempt. I probably would still make this video over the fact that they completely failed to win the game at the end of regulation. The fact that they failed twice is horrific. This final play is very significant because it indicates multiple issues with the Denver Broncos on a national scale. One, the play call was horrific. I mean, hand it off to Melvin Gordon, run the damn ball like Richard Sherman is saying. Two is the fact that Russell Wilson failed to read the defense. I mean, this is very simple, dude. You have one safety playing high, the rest of your defensive backs are in man. All you have to do is fool that one safety that is helping out all the defensive backs and then pass it to the guy that beats their man. Very simple. I mean, your first read should be freaking KJ Hamler in this instance after you look at Cortland Sutton, which every single man watching the game and on that defense knows that it would probably be your first read. Well, what he ended up doing was deciding, hey, before we even snap the ball, I'm throwing the ball to Cortland Sutton, who was defended by Stephon Gilmore, who deflects the ball. Game's over. KJ Hamler's wide freaking open. Russell Wilson misses the read. Now on top of it, you have KJ Hamler literally having a meltdown on national TV. Now, this is important and this is very significant because this is indicative of the fact that Russell Wilson's teammates are starting to lose patience with him. I mean, you had this one meme that went absolutely viral of Melvin Gordon staring down Russell Wilson as he's sipping his Gatorade. Now, Russell Wilson was so freaking bad that he's causing beef amongst NFL players and retired NFL players, because check this out. RG3 does something very innocent, a marketing tactic, posts the meme onto Twitter saying, caption this. Shady McCoy quoted this tweet saying, damn bro, take it easy on him. You experienced this moment a lot more than Russell Wilson. RG3 then had one of the weakest clapbacks that I think I have ever seen. I mean, this is something that I don't think Shady McCoy even thought of, but he posted some stats from a game where he faced off against LaShawn McCoy. Bear in mind, they were NFC East rivals, saying, dang, are you still mad at me for out-rushing you in a game? Or was it that I had more rushing touchdowns than you had rushing and receiving that year? Or for knocking y'all out of playoff contention in 2014? You had a great career. Without injuries, I would have had a better one. The last part was a little cringy, man. I mean, obviously, it makes me sad that RG3 sustained those injuries, but it's such a weak thing to say.
So you had a great career. You won multiple Super Bowls. Your longevity as a halfback is unquestioned, but if I wasn't injured, I would have had a better career than you.
Shady McCoy responds saying, would've, could've, but these are your numbers. Let RG3 cook. I just felt like that's a very funny micro story that I should bring to you guys. So the aftermath of this entire situation is the fact that Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson know that they're in some trouble. Lindsey Jones said that she left the Broncos locker room. It's been about 40 minutes since the game ended. Russell Wilson was still sitting in his locker in full pads, deep in quiet conversation with Nathaniel Hackett. I have a little theory, and you can let me know in the comment section down below if this theory is a reach. If you remember in the past, we covered Russell Wilson extensively. I mean, this is back when you guys were roasting me saying you keep on saying Russell Wilson wants to be traded, but he's not getting traded. With one major article being one of my favorite articles from The Athletic of all time, and it's titled, What is Driving the Rift Between Russell Wilson and the Seahawks? Power and Control. Now, this article is so significant that if you remember, I made a video on what caused the Seahawks and Russell Wilson to part ways, which we'll link at the end screen for you guys if you're interested in that, because that's its own cascade of crazy events that you guys are probably going to be interested in. But in this article, it just discusses how Pete Carroll has built Hall of Fame credentials on what he sees as multiple truths about how the game is best played. Run the ball, avoid turnovers, explode in the passing game. To be honest, this isn't some sort of groundbreaking concept. If you look at multiple successful teams in NFL history, usually defensive teams employ this concept. If you have a really good defense and you make it to the Super Bowl, chances are you have a phenomenal rushing attack that keeps time of possession in your favor, which adds additional pressure on the opposing offense, which makes it easier for your defense to make plays. And if you look at the Seattle Seahawks, that's how they won their Super Bowls. Yeah, Russell Wilson fantastic talent. I mean, remarkable pick at where they selected him in the 2012 NFL draft. The most successful quarterback in the 2012 NFL draft. Bear in mind, that's the Andrew Luck and RG3 draft. It wasn't Russell Wilson throwing bombs that won the Seattle Seahawks a Super Bowl. It was the fact that they had Marshawn Lynch on the offense that was complemented by a remarkable play action passing game with Russell Wilson. And of course, Russell Wilson had that scrambling ability, which was great as well. And then on top of that, you had the Legion of Boom on defense. And that's what made the Seattle Seahawks such a threat. Ironically, the team that they beat to win their only Super Bowl of that era, the Denver Broncos, originally were a very offensive team. And then they pivoted their identity in 2015 to more of a defensive team with a much better rushing attack that primarily had Peyton Manning adjusting the play at the line of scrimmage because he's Peyton freaking Manning. He has the ability to do so. Now, the article continues by saying Carroll believes this formula in his bones, and over again he has won while implementing it. In contrast, Russell Wilson believes that Carroll's conservative philosophy is limiting his production and by extension his ambitions to be one of the game's all-time greats. At the time that this article came out, I was thinking, hey, Russell Wilson has nothing to lose by testing this theory. But here's the thing, he tested this theory with Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll gave him the freedom to test this, and it failed. I mean, there were instances where he succeeded, but ultimately it would not work for the Seattle Seahawks as a team or Russell Wilson individually. It says in the first half of the 2020 season, the Seahawks unleashed an all-out aerial attack, throwing the ball early and often. Wilson put together the best statistical stretch of his career and emerged as the clear frontrunner for MVP, an award he covets for the implications it would have on his legacy. Now here's where it's important, and this is why I cited this article. He said, I'm trying to break away, you know what I mean? I'm trying to chase Brady, Breeze, Manning, and Montana. Now, ultimately, this wasn't sustainable. The wheels to Wilson's MVP campaign rattled loose in a 44-34 loss to the Buffalo Bills on November 8th. Wilson turned the ball over 4 times, the defense cratered, and Pete Carroll sounded shell-shocked at what he had just watched. Now, Pete Carroll did what a good coach does in those situations, and trust me, as a Dallas Cowboys fan, I would love to see one of my head coaches do this. He made an adjustment. Yeah, I know, crazy concept here, but he saw Russell Wilson throw 4 interceptions to the Buffalo Bills and said, okay, maybe we need to run the ball a bit more. And Pete Carroll gave Russell Wilson multiple opportunities here. Now, you might be wondering, Mike, why are you bringing all this up? A part of me is just wondering, and I know this is a reach, you know, I'm not saying this is what happened. I tend to overanalyze and overthink things, and I guess that's something that you guys like. Could it be that Russell Wilson, the reason why during that Super Bowl 49 loss to the New England Patriots, the reason why they didn't hand it off to Marshawn Lynch and Russell Wilson dropped back to pass was because Russell Wilson wanted to be the hero? Could it also have been on Thursday Night Football on 4th and 1 and on 3rd and 4, Nathaniel Hackett may have wanted to hand off the ball to Melvin Gordon, but Russell Wilson wanted to be the hero, so he dropped back to pass, or maybe he pushed for a passing play instead of a running play. This is just a theory. I'm not saying it's fact. I'm not saying it's anything. I'm just throwing it out at you guys because based off of what I'm reading in regards to Russell Wilson, this is a man that wants to chase individual accolades. He wants the glory. He wants recognition as a superstar in the NFL. He wants to be on the Mount Rushmore with Montana and Brady and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and etc. And I don't mean to be that guy. I personally see a lot of flaws in Russell Wilson's game. I don't want to tell him that he can't do something, but based off of his performance so far and just based off of his style of play, I have questions about whether or not he will be able to play until 40 years old and whether or not you could win a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson throwing the football as much as he is. And you mix that with the fact that Nathaniel Hackett is a rookie head coach that didn't draft Russell Wilson, by the way. Pete Carroll was there for Russell Wilson's rookie year, so he could discipline Russell Wilson whenever he's wrong. Nathaniel Hackett's a rookie head coach working with a Super Bowl champion that has made it to multiple Pro Bowls. I don't know whether or not he would have the stones to say, no, Russell Wilson, this is not what we're going to do because this is what's going to cost me my job and cost us football games. So I think it's a gigantic recipe for disaster currently. Now, of course, it's a very short season. It's the beginning of October. The Denver Broncos could turn this all around. This is based off the small sample size we've seen so far. The Broncos offense shouldn't be this horrific. Yeah, they have a bad offensive line, but Russell Wilson has never had a good offensive line in his entire career. They have a remarkable defense. They have Melvin Gordon, who, yeah, he's a backup, but he's a more than capable running back. They have have Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and KJ Hamler, a remarkable wide receiver core. This team needs to be one of the more dominant teams in the NFL. Hopefully they figure it out. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.